Aloha and welcome. I'm Panther, and this is my last drive to and from work. The little graphic you saw in the beginning was made by me, utilizing Blender and an add-on called Animax, I think it is. Yeah, Animax. This is going to be a lot of me rambling about past events and various stuff like that related to work and the drive to and from said work. This is technically my second take. That's the first one I didn't know was the two clips got overlapped, so that was obnoxious, but it allowed me to kind of more structure my thoughts on what I'm going to say. So I don't care about doxing myself, in the respect of you guys aren't actually going to see my location. So if you're hoping to see where I live, you're not going to find that, because I get as close as the city I'm a part of, and that's it. You guys won't see anything more than that. This first recording is at night because it's 4 a.m. I got started into heading out to work at 4 a.m. thanks to how I started with keywords. I started with keywords in 2008. I had joined up because of a very I have quite a few unfortunate ex-friends who had me getting into this. One particular ex-friend in this regard fooled me into thinking that they could get me into Nintendo as a game tester, because that was my dream job. I didn't know much about the world of gaming and stuff like that. YouTube was fairly fresh and new at this time. And the internet, while being around for a while, still didn't have the legitimacy it does now. Okay, so I get my thing, I go to apply, and my first resume was showing all of the games that I had played and the systems that I had played them on. If you've ever applied for a job, this sounds cool, until you start realizing that no one cares about that. I didn't know at the time, but they didn't care. It was sometime later I found out that they just don't care. They really just never cared about the level of gaming experience I had. They didn't give a shit. I had a pulse. I was willing to work, and I had come into work. The early days of my time at VMC, which at the time I had joined up was actually an abbreviation. An initialism for Volt Management Company. Volt was its parent company, and VMC was the child company. I started working that way, and I did so for a while. I was one of the basic testers. At this time, there was only 3 categories that you could be in that work: tester, lead, senior lead. as I started continuing working, I met a lot of people. Oh, on the right here, by the way, what we're passing is the only truck stop along the entire route of going to work. If there was even one closer, I feel I would have a lot more sanity than I do now. But there's not. There's this one. I've been to it a couple of times because of my parents going up to family get-togethers and stuff like that. But for the most part, I've always passed it by. Anyway, I was at. I started as a basic tester. I learned all the ins and outs of what you're supposed to do as a tester. I would tell them what my findings were. My handwriting still is pretty bad, but you didn't really need it. So I thought. The early days of being a part of VMC, it was pen and paper, straight up pen and paper. You were sat at a station, and you pretty much did that the whole day. And I never cared too much, mainly because after I was done, I could go home. I would go home, and so here's the weird duality of the rando days. You would get these insane hours of like, hey, we got you on for a shift. Do you want to come in? Hell yeah, I want to come in. What time? Make sure to come in tomorrow at 8. Awesome. You come in. I would have to leave home at like 5 o'clock in the morning, get down to the bus station, which would then bus me up to Seattle. Then I would take a transfer bus to at first I started going to Totem Lake, and then getting a transfer bus there, a dark bus that would drop me off right. Oh, the sound you're hearing right now is me fiddling around with a phone holder. What you're seeing through is my phone, and I did a practice recording previously, but the practice recording had it vertical instead of landscape, so there's just all this empty space of sky and like empty space below the dash that was just showing the dashboard, and it's like, that's not great. So I attached this phone to the GPS holder, because I've driven this route so much that I know how to get to work and get home without using the GPS. But what you just heard, the weird creak, was actually my safety belt and me fiddling around with the dashboard phone holder that I have, so I could like listen to my music and stuff like that. So yes, there's no music on this ride because the device I use to listen to music is also the same device I use to record videos. This video, which it would not allow me to do both. So yeah. Rando days you'd show up for a shift, and that shift could be a normal 8 hours, or it could go into night. There were night shifts. I loved night shifts. There was no one in the way, driving and whatnot. The only downside is that my parents had to come pick me up at night, and one night I almost froze. I was an idiot. I also didn't know that you could get into the building, at least on the basic level, by going around and coming back up, so I was like huddled next to a wall. This was a time that they did not trust the testers at all. They never trust the testers, to be perfectly honest, during the rando days, because it was the rando days. The testers frequently abused any advantage that they were given. Abused. Not so much like gently prodded, abused. Then eventually this new brand of tester started forming called the repro tester, because we would find bugs, send it over to those to the engineers, and the engineers would be like, we couldn't figure out what you guys did, so throw the bug out. Then it would leak to the market, and suddenly that was a problem, because a lot of people were running into it, despite the fact that the engineers couldn't run into it. So we had to take some of the more capable testers and turn them into reproduction testers, or repro testers for short. I was not on the first wave of repro testers. I believe I was on the 6th wave of that. The turnaround for that was pretty high, but when you got on to being a repro tester, initially it was just you were a tester and you were expected to do more, but also not expected to do more, because it formed another new position, the repro lead, who did more than any other lead except for the senior tester, or the senior lead. Then they fought really hard over the years to get the repro testers their PCs. Yeah. During the beginning times of being a repro tester, the repro testers found more bugs than the testers, because they were ad hocing the whole time. But that didn't help things, because the bugs they were finding were in the titles we were playing, not the hardware. So, full disclosure, the job I worked, I didn't test games. I tested hardware for Microsoft. You can extrapolate what that means. I cannot go into any further detail than this because of the NDAs. Currently, I became a lead for a little while. I ran into a couple of notable people who aggravated me. I lost a lot of friends in respect of them just burning the bridge with me. I think a couple of people have died that I knew, just because their health wasn't particularly great when I knew them. During my first take, at this point I was getting into a person who I particularly didn't like, and I realize now, why bother? I'm gonna get more straight into the portion of my life that started to really help me. So, the big thing that was great about the rando days is, although you worked these crazy bad hours and everything like that, it was only for so long. So you'd work, let's say, Monday through Friday. It could be 10-hour days towards the end, but you'd get overtime for it because their work days was Monday through Sunday. No, it was Saturday. It was Saturday to Sunday. Yeah, it was Saturday to Sunday. That was their 7-hour, their position for 40 hours. If you got 40 hours over that during that time frame, it was considered overtime. But because of the weirdity of the work, I could apply for unemployment during the times that I didn't work. And that was great. I didn't need a whole lot. I was living with my parents, still kind of am. And anybody who has a problem with that, you tell me that from your own house. And then you tell me what job you have and how stressed you are. And then we can continue this conversation. But past that, so I didn't have to pay too many bills. I could feed myself. My parents were doing that for alongside me. My sister, not by blood or law, but by experience, had SSI, still does. I remember helping her through that. I remember setting up direct deposit. One of the biggest changes in my life, though, had to have been when I started conversing with a friend who I still have now. Really good friend. I won't say their name just so that they can keep their anonymity. I met two very solid friends at this point. We had switched over to being solid, not rando work days. So it was a core crew. And I said this during my the run that, or the take that you guys will never see, but I was never good enough to be a part of the core, ever. I was never good enough to be a part of the core development of the crew. I was always just, hey, we need an additional person. This guy's great. But when it came down to who do we absolutely need, I was never that guy. I was never the absolute guy to have. And during the final days of work, when, like, after it had switched from VMC Volt to Keywords, which it was under Keywords management for like 4 years. Riot, the people who worked on League of Legends, we had a crew that worked alongside them. They drastically had to change because Keywords didn't let them do what they wanted to do anymore. It just, so much changed. And then the final days, Microsoft just cut the funding. Because I have a strong suspicion that because of this, which is probably still going to be happening by the time this goes up, but might be over with by the time you guys watch it, their acquisition of Activision, or their attempted, they spilled so much money into it that they couldn't afford to keep some of the things that are going, and because they're focusing more and more on subtle updates to the hardware, and I think they're not going to be going into another generation of hardware for gaming stuff. I think they don't feel like they need Keywords assistance anymore. So what we're coming up to right now on the screen is exit 153. This is switching from I-5 to 405 in the Washington state. I'm supposed to be taking this turn at 45 miles an hour. I'm not. I am taking this at 60. I am a confident driver now. I was not when I started. I remember the fear I had because I was a terrible driver in video games. Because I couldn't brake properly, I couldn't turn right. And then because of things that I had run into as far as like the driving steering wheel, yeah, that terrified me. It straight up terrified me. Because someone led me to believe that's how it was. That's not how it was. It's not how it is at all. When you're driving, you are not driving in a video game. You have a lot more control, you have a lot more nuance, but you also have a lot more stress. Anyway, so yeah, there was a friend, two, now three. I have to get in touch with them again. I've been kind of dark on a lot of stuff with my new job. I've gotten a new job since I quit since I got fired from Keywords. Work at Walgreens. I don't know how long I'll be working for that, but I did. So, two of the friends that I am talking about got me into D&D. I've always been into D&D. One thing I definitely have to say, I don't know if you can see it. No, you can't see it too well in all this darkness, but there was a red building just as you're coming off of the exit here, back that way. That was a building that is designed for indoor skydiving. Never been, probably never will be, but that was just, I remember driving this path so often that I watched it being built. But yeah, sorry if I'm incoherently rambling, but that's kind of how these drives became to me. I started driving like 2016, somewhere around there, 2015, 2016. Personally driving, not like having a friend drive. And I just started to realize that you could turn off a portion of your brain and just phase into your own little dream world. I got really into wanting to create certain things, and I'm going to try to act on them. I'm really pushing myself to get the proper mentality to do that. But yeah, so back to my prior statement. Friend got me into D&D. I've always been a part of D&D since 3.5, but never could get a DM who either wanted to do it or that I enjoyed being a part of. 3.5 has a lot of nuanced rules, lots and lots of math, to unfortunately a really obnoxious degree that it's like, I would rather have a computer doing this. I don't have to fucking deal with it. But before I get into that, I should mention that I had been a part of a Shadowrun group, and that's where I met a really, really good friend and someone who tried really hard to be my friend, but I feel he has gone down a path that I cannot follow. So although we are not friends anymore, I don't really hold any bad blood with him as far as I'm concerned. I'm not saying any names, so if you know who you are, you know who you are. If you don't, I'm not going to tell you. But yeah, that was also the part of the time that My Little Pony Friendship is Magic just started airing. God, okay, that's a trip. Alright, well, we'll get to that in a second. Okay, so friend got me into D&D. I started realizing, they started realizing that I might be good at being the DM. Because I made a character for this campaign that was work related. It was a after hours work or D&D club with various people who were in the Redmond campus, or not Redmond campus, Redmond building of now Keywords. We started having a game, this and that. I think I got 3 sessions in before I started realizing I can't be a DM and a player at the same time. And so I started becoming a DM, and I found out I hate being a player. Hate it. I hate being a player, but I love being a DM. I hate being a player because I don't like it when the dice don't work for me. Like, I can set up this grand scheme of things, and all that has to happen is the dice go nope and roll low, and then I'm pissed. I was never really good at working with that as a player. As a DM, I loved it when the rolls didn't go my way, because I got to see how the players like dealt with it, how they started messing with my story and reacting to that, like adding to that story, making it further. I might talk about that more in the return trip, but for now, oh man, friendship is magic. That's a trip. What exit are we on currently? Like, I'm watching this as you guys are watching this, so I can get good commentary and whatnot. Because I don't want to miss a part. I think I might have. No, I haven't missed it yet. So one reason why I used to drive so early in the morning was twofold. One, I could get past all of the... Let's see, what exit is this? 9. Okay, cool. In a second, I'll get onto the Friendship is Magic, because that's a long piece of my life. But I would come early because I could bypass a lot of traffic. Up until like the last 5 years, the 4 a.m. there was no traffic, but it has gotten worse and worse over the years, except for the pandemic area. But the HOV lane you see on my left, I haven't used it during this drive because I hadn't needed to. It was surprisingly cathartic this time that there was basically nobody on the road. Believe me, this is basically nobody on the road. But until 5 a.m., that HOV lane is open to everyone. And the toll lanes, yeah, you can thank fucking Seattle for that. The toll lanes are also free until 5 a.m. However, if you're on those lanes when it becomes 5:01 and you hit one of their little sensors, bing, you get dinged. Alright, so before I get into the grander scheme of things, I have to go over a couple of things. See how this road suddenly changed? I hope they have fixed it since the time that I've come past here, but what that was is they actually took the top layer of the street and just kind of cleaved it off. Okay, so we're getting really close to the thing. There were 3 locations that we could go to at any time that we were called in for work. At this, even during the final 2 weeks of work, and that was Keyword's main branch, which we're going to, Microsoft Studio D, which is the second closest to me in location, and then this Bellevue Test House. You will not be seeing the Bellevue Test House, nor will I give you any information on the Bellevue Test House. 13B is the exit to get to the Bellevue Test House efficiently. I had a lot of time starting to figure out a good path home that didn't stress me the hell out, but I could also get home fast, because I would stay like until 7 o'clock at night waiting for the traffic to die down. And it never did. Exit 14B, I believe it was 14B. I know it was 14 and then you took the middle route, was to go to the Microsoft campus, Studio D. Microsoft was pretty nifty. Yeah, here we go. 13A on the right. is not the one that I would go to. It was 13B. I thought about going all the way to there for this final day, because the final day we got to play whatever the hell we wanted. Because although they needed hours for things, they didn't care. They knew we were mentally clocked out. Okay. Our team was to Microsoft itself. Studio D was a really interesting place to work at. Found out some really cool things about that, but we're going past that. Exit 20 was how to get to the old Keywords location. I won't be giving you the information to that because that's not relevant anymore. They no longer control that building, but they did at one time control the whole building. It just proved inefficient because there was a lot of room to control, but not a whole lot of anything. And then the pandemic hit, and that killed a lot of interest in the whole building. So they ended up in this newer one, which we're going to now. Okay. My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic. I had 2 crushes that didn't work out. Apparently, my taste in women is not reciprocated backwards, but they were into it. One I think is still on YouTube, doing their own thing. You will not get a name nor a link. But if they end up watching this, which I doubt they will, they know who they are. The other one was a friend for a little longer than that one. And they were into it too, but on kind of a different spectrum of it. I didn't actually really start getting into it until the pandemic hit, when we had to go home after working like hours and hours of work. It was 40 hours a week. It was 8-hour days. But at this time, I had no reason to get home. So I'd just stay at work and use the work PCs until like 7. I would even like set up a console and just play games on the company profiles. But when the pandemic hit and I was forced to be home, it was... So I had overdosed on caffeine. It was actually really terrible, and I started having severe mood swings. And MLP, I just started... That was my routine. I would wake up and I would just start watching consecutive episodes of it. At this time, my PC was upstairs in my room. So I basically never left my room for, like, the day. I would go out to go to the bathroom, get something to eat. We were on furlough, so I was getting paid to sit there and do nothing. I just didn't have anything to do, so I'd watch MLP. And then I watched the last episodes of it, and I think it's because I marathoned the last season. I had been semi-watching it up until that point. I had skipped season 3, I think it was, when Cadence got introduced. I did not like the concept behind her. The character's fine, but just... she, like, her existence throws such a monkey wrench into the rules of the world. But after watching the season finale, no, the series finale, it hurt so bad. It was a very, like, it took me almost a week to fully recover from that one. And then Steven Universe had its finale. And oddly enough, the two finales felt very similar. And I think that's the only reason why the Steven Universe didn't hit me as hard. And, man. But it was about then that I discovered something that I think really has changed my mental health and my life. 20B right there. Take that turn off and you start on the process for getting to the other one. So I started into watching, I just started watching random MLP videos. Like, I had to get more. I had to see the Equestria Girls. I had to see these other shows and how they were going. These comics. I started doing that. Friends, if you're I won't do a name call out just in case, but you know who you are. You helped me so much through this time. Would just grab random story things, and I started reading through them and kind of getting my fix of wanting to see the next thing of My Little Pony and seeing how the stories played out. It's when I came across a video of turning a piece of art into something 3D. Now, all throughout this time, I haven't mentioned my time on Fur Affinity. That was a whole different life. It still is. Like, it's the duality of my life. Role-playing on F-List, Fur Affinity. With one of my good online friends, I roleplay on Congregate, which I have not touched in over 4 years now. Man, we still have roleplays, which I do need to get to today. But man, we were. I wish I had met him when I had crashed my car. It was the only 2 accidents so far I have ever had, both of which did not involve anybody else. And man, it was traumatic, straight up traumatic, and it was my fault, which made it worse. But I didn't know them at that time. We weren't friends at that time. We were just people who had met on F-List and roleplayed with each other. But man, oh, here we go. Man, I hate this turnoff. Exit 24. If you are not going 60 at this time, you better fucking slow down, because holy shit, this turnoff comes out of nowhere. I'll get back to the MLP stuff in a second, because the trip home is way longer. So much longer. But for right now, I'm sorry that this the trip in is so difficult to see, but that's what I dealt with every day. Human eyes are better situated for this sort of thing. But yeah, and there, right up there on the right, boom, just kind of merge off. I have I helped a friend go through their life at Keywords, which unfortunately not their life, but their work there ended rather poorly. But this area has always been really interesting to me. Oh, right, yeah. I forgot I looked at it in this light for once. Gas prices up here are nuts. So nuts. On the right, you can see them pretty clearly. I think. Maybe the fog glow's a little nuts, but whatever. Yeah, this is the home stretch for getting into work. I remember when I first was told to come here because we were out of a building. Keywords was moving locations, and we had to work from home after coming back from the pandemic of all things. That was weird. I don't know what phone did that. I didn't change my lights or anything. Yeah, but up this way, it's always really relaxing. This final stretch. Just businesses on the left, residential on the right. The lights are always favoring this side of the road. But yeah, so after all the MLP stuff, I started getting into Blender, and it's been, I think, 4 years now, 3-4 years since I actually started, and I've been loving most of it. And here we are, like that. Yeah, that is a straight up hotel right before my place of work. The clacking you heard was my keys. There it is. Can you see it? Can you see keywords? I fucking couldn't. First day I had to come here, I wasn't sure this was the proper building because that's all I could see. What you saw now, nanostring. So yeah. That upper floor on the right, all those windows, those are not keywords. The lunchroom is right straight up from the center place there. Yeah. And now we head home. So, you wanted to see the building? Like, actually see the building? How about now? See it? Upper left. Blue, dark blue wording. Can't see that shit in the night. I don't know if you've ever seen my face before. And I don't really care if you see it now. This is my last trip from work. That is a sleeping bag you see there. I slept. Or I napped every morning at work when I got there because work started at 8. So I'd get there and start to realize that I couldn't stay up that entire time. I had to nap. And that started helping my mental health. Having something to vent out and create stuff with Blender. There I am. That's me. My new glasses that I bought for work. Fucking great purchase there. Man. There it is. I thought about like editing out my face and everything, but if you've been watching this far, I don't care. You can fucking see it. I also don't care about like showing the outside of the building because this is their current location. Steadicam makes it so it's not like jerky as hell, but it also prevents me from utilizing other things that would have helped the picture quality. So there's that. So you remember that whole trip we did? You're not going to get to see it on the trip back, because I found that trying to go back the way I came through all that highway bullshit just wasn't doable. I never got to see it that way. I'm an explorer. I love exploring. I love adventure games that I get to free roam and go around. I hate procedurally generated open world stuff because most of the time it's not actually exploring. It's just kind of rolling over the hills. So why I'm getting into this lane, didn't look like you're able to see it, but yes, I ran that light. I didn't care. I did not care. At this particular time, I wanted to go home. I wanted to be done with this life. I was sick of it. Not of the work. The work was fine. I was sick of the fact that I could never work the hours I wanted to, which was 4 10s. I so wanted to work 4 10-hour days. That to me was the perfect 40-hour week. Because I would always get home super tired, could never do anything that I wanted. But part of that is just also mentality. I never got the mentality proper because I always got creative at work, but when I got home I had video games, I had distractions, and I have ADHD. It's not like I can't clarify it because most doctors won't clarify it for me now, but I've got it. I know I have it, and it's hard to focus, and it's even harder to get the medication for it because I don't have a stable job right now. But as it stands, this is the drive home, and it will be very different than the drive up. Okay, so D&D. D&D, I had found out that I was better as a DM than a player. I had a collection of players start out. There was it started out with 4 players. However, one of them just up and quit. They never actually explained to me why, which is fine. It was their choice. The second one, he quit, but he did it in a way of explaining why. He explained that it wasn't the type of game that he wanted to play, but he was happy that he got to play the character he wanted to. The part that's ironic, like actually ironic, so I was setting up a fight for him, because I had heard his complaints that he wanted a fight that he didn't feel guilty about killing the opponent. So I started setting up, like, I didn't like, bam, they're here. I started setting up this character that was, no, you want to kill this character. And I was setting it up for it, but he quit before that fight happened. So the last two people made support PCs because the fight was balanced for 4 people. And I was sitting there, I was getting it ready. At this time, I was good enough with Blender that I even made a turret. If you look on my, I think it's on my channel actually, you can see the turret that I made for D&D. I have to remake it because I know I can do better now. But so I made that. They were going to sit there and fight, and the rogue of the group was all set for, yes, you are clearly a mentally unstable individual. You aren't going to stop. You will try to kill everyone. And then the wizard went, they're a child. Person in question looks like they're 16, but they're actually 19. So he couldn't do it. And the rogue was like, what? And I was like, what? So the one person who would have just ignored the wizard and done it was no longer a part of the party. And thus, the main baddie just smiled, nodded, and let them leave because they didn't start the fight. And this particular baddie was definitely the type of individual that, hey, if you're not a threat, I don't have to exert any energy to deal with you. So that said, we dealt with this fight. Did we deal with this fight? Man, by walking away from it. So then I got a new player who unfortunately kind of sabotaged themselves because they were playing. No, they had came and left before this. Oh right, no, this is when two of the other players who far more stable came in, and we started to discover that one of them, who was a paladin, who was a diplomat. And that was the story of the character and everything like that. That was how their character was. They were a diplomat. So they did not want to have to kill this individual if they could talk it out, which was great. But also, again, I made this character to be attacked, to be killed, and it's not happening. But then we had another character. I'm not name dropping because I respect people's privacy, but this character was very much the, oh yeah, no, I'm going to pull that trigger, but they're smart, like they're very smart. But that's also exactly what ended up being the Achilles heel of the character. So let me set up the scenario. The scenario kind of starts out like this. The wizard walks in. They end up. They find the group is consistent of a paladin, a rogue, a wizard. Most of these guys have multi-classed except for the paladin, and a ranger who uses a ranger artificer who uses firearms. So they all walk in. They're everyone except for the wizard is looking over this busted down door, and it's very clear that the way the door was busted down, it's from the inside out. So it was holding something and then failed to. The wizard then walks down the hall while the rogue, unaware that the wizard is doing so, is checking out the pieces of door and everything like that. So the wizard made sure that the hallway wasn't booby-trapped because he just didn't care. Then he sees a brightly colored creature just on the inside. This particular wizard had some issues with some candy kobolds in the past. they're actually very friendly, but they make traps and things like that that aren't meant to kill until this big bad commissioned them. He was on the receiving end of one of these creatures. So his character became very phobiatic of those particular individuals. So he opened fire, thinking it was a candy kobold. So allow me to paint the picture as it happened for the rest of the party. They're fumbling through the wreckage of the door. They vaguely see the wizard walk down the hall. Bright flash, a growl, and then running as he's like, "Not a candy kobold! Not a candy kobold!" It was a candy orc, which was created by the big bad. So they start fighting through all these candy creations, which are insanely specific on how they work, but also like they tear through them until the rogue and the ranger, moving first because they're both very keen, they end up triggering a rock to come down, cutting them off from the rest of the party. And on the other side is someone playing the piano, which they had heard 2 rooms in. Someone playing on the piano, singing, "Let it burn, let it burn." I didn't know if the other party members remembered who was singing it, but they heard it like, "Oh no, she's here, the big bad." And so it's just the rogue who managed to still stay hidden, and the ranger who wasn't trying to hide at all, and the big bad. So the ranger, realizing, "Oh no, I can't just open fire because they are a threat," started to talk with the big bad. One particular aspect you have to understand about this particular big bad is they don't lie. It's part of who they are. When they tell you they're going to do something, they are going to do it. They respect the rules in their own mind, but not everybody else's rules. Okay, so the conversation starts going on, and then the big bad reveals that they're actually there to recruit the ranger because they are after something that would get in the way of their dad. The entire point of this particular character is to bring their dad into this world. Their dad is Sauron. Yes, from Lord of the Rings. I loved the concept behind it and just ran with it. So this particular character was like, oh no. And like as a gesture, it's like, hey, I can bring back your dead lover. And the character is just like stunned that it's like, really? And the player's like, can I roll to see if they're telling the truth? And the paladin's like, oh, you're gonna botch the roll. And I'm like, no, that's not the worst that can happen. The worst that could happen happened. She crit, succeeded. Her character could tell without a shadow of a doubt that this big bad was telling the truth. They could bring back their dead lover. They could do everything they said. So the one person in the group, aside from the rogue, who would try to kill this character, just joined them. So yeah, I fully enjoyed the stories I was crafting and everything. It was an outlet for my creativity, and it was cathartic. It was so great. Blender has started to become that too, and when I sit down and just do things on Blender, I feel great, but I have these bigger projects that I'm trying to build towards, and I think I'm getting stuck on that, and I need to stop. Alright, so we start getting into the fun part of this adventure. Home. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, up until this point, it's just been kind of on the highway. This is kind of the way I normally go. I would be sticking in the left lane as much as possible, going all the way down, long super highway, all that stuff. But no. We start switching off into the route that I found to be the most relaxing. So here, we are turning off into Bellevue. Is it Bellevue? It might be Bothell. I don't remember which. It might be Bothell. Either way. We're turning off into here. Now, from Microsoft and the test house, you could get to this exact location. And I found that great. Take the right, the furthest left lane to make the right. I think we're stuck at this light for quite a bit. This particular area, you're not supposed to turn left because that lane just keeps going. That basically the lane you'd be crossing over just keeps going forward. It also says you can't turn on red, but if I remember correctly, even though you can't see it, it did so. So here's where things start to get interesting for my drive home. It also adds a lot of time to my trip, but it's all steady. It was all steady anyway. I would always take an hour and 20 minutes to get home. Always. And what I'm going to describe now is how I kind of discovered these paths. Because you do it every single day, you either get so fed up that you can't stand it anymore, or you do something about it. So, that's what I'm doing. Something about it. I'm not gonna lie, like, even up until this point, I'm having times where I'm sad that it's all over. I kind of don't want to move on with my life. Kind of scared to do so, but I know I have to. And then there's also a part of me that's excited, because now once I get used to Walgreens, or I find out that I can't hack it and I get a remote job, because that's the next thing I'm going to be looking into doing, remote jobs. Because if I can't standing for long periods of time at Walgreens and whatnot, then my only alternative is jobs that I don't have to go in to do them. I think by then I'll be out of the gaming market or stuff long enough that I'll be able to get back into it without having like fucking war flashbacks. Okay, so taking a left here. So the first time I ran into this, the GPS was instructing me a little bit of the ways, and up here you can take a U-turn, turn back around, and then take a right back at the same intersection that we were on. However, I found that just turning simply left here, the lights are more favorable to you. Sorry for the weird wobblingness. The phone is on super stable. Super stable. I put it in the beginning of the video. what it does is it smooths the transitions between two frames. So if it's really jerky, it will kind of interpolate between the two. It makes it kind of wobble, but that's better than it super jittering. So normally I would be taking a left up here. Which did I do here? Yeah, I took a left here. So the two things that you could do is take a left here or go straight. Which did I do? It really doesn't matter which direction you go, depending on the traffic that's down to the left. Because the traffic down to the left is... it can be bad, but it can also be good. And yes, this is when the light turns red, every side is crossing. Which did I do? Yeah, I straight up turned left. There is an old Toys R Us building down that path. Kind of sad that you guys don't get to see it, but I wanted to get home so bad. I wanted it done. Wanted it so done. To the right is a police department building. I always found that really interesting, that a police department is right there in the center instead of like on a satellite building. So up this way, I tried to find so many ways around this traffic, and ultimately I never could, because there is a path that you could technically take, though it's illegal, to meet up with the path much later down where I'm driving. The reason why it's illegal is because it's in a residential zone only, so there is no through traffic unless you live there. I found that so weird. Reason why I'm in this lane and not the right lane, despite the fact that I want to be in the right lane, is because of what's coming up. This thing has been worked on for 3 years now. That building on the right there. That thing has been worked on for like 3 years. The bridge is out on the left here. That's been also being worked on, which is probably slowing that thing down. Then you go over this, and then things just start opening up. Down this path, you always have to be on the right lane, even though you inevitably want the left lane, because it shears off that lane to go left near the end. I think right now I'm going 45, even though I'm supposed to be going 30. Man, son, you're making this difficult to look at. Like the physical sun, not like my biological son, which I don't actually have yet. May never get. Don't know. But yeah, right here, the left lane turns off. But now, and this is the lane I need. So I tried once to bypass this whole thing and go a different route. It took so long. So very long. That is a creepy, awesome shot of the sun there. I hope that doesn't happen on the better route. So I was really happy to be done with this portion, because normally you get stuck at that light for like 4 or 5 minutes just because traffic and whatnot. The building coming up on the left, see that peach building up there? That got burned down at one point and then got rebuilt up into what it is now. I think it's like a community home or something like that. I loved looking at the buildings throughout here, but they're so expensive to build, to live there. Right now, this is just the trip. So the other path that I told you that is illegal, if I remember correctly, it would feed in right here. Like, you'd bypass all of that and feed in right there, or right up here on the left. Yeah, it was actually right here on the left. Or right, sorry, on the right. Now, for a while I had ignored this route because the GPS loved sending me through Seattle, and Seattle sucks for trying to get to Tacoma. But if you keep on this path, you get a really, a so scenic path home. And God, I have to say, I miss doing this every once in a while, but having to do it every day was so very draining. I hate driving with people on the road. I really do. But when you're going to places that you've never gone, it's so awesome. For me, I'm an adventurer. I love exploring and seeing new places and doing new things. And there's something to be said about doing it in person. And here we go down the weird path that I enjoyed going. I think there was someone. Yeah, there we are. Because I need to over one more lane to the left. There we go. And there. Okay. So here is where I had the most alterations to my trip home. Because the other path, I had like 2 options to me. And then they would all feed into the next portion that I'll discuss when we get there. But here, there's a couple of options. Option 1 is the one that I'm going to be doing for you guys to see, where I take exit 17 into Spokane. Or not Spokane, Issaquah. The next option is exit 18, which is the back route into Issaquah. I took that for the longest time because it was just the thing the GPS kept wanting me to do. And then the next one, I think, is exit, I want to say 24 again, where it's all the way down, like where the highway starts going, you must go 70 uphill. And man, those were brutal. Because there's a right turn up there that it's not bad, but dear God, everybody's taking it. So, oh, by the way, it's a stop sign, not a light. So it's a right turn, but you're waiting on people. So I only did that once or twice, and it was crazy. Here, we're going to see the result of years, literal years, of crafting my path home. Look at the trees. This is just like the other route home, where you would just see concrete walls. That's it. Here you can see wildlife. And the I-5 route home, man, I never once went home without at least one accident on it. Here, this path, I had one time in the years I went it that had an accident. One time. I remember trying to get used to balancing all of these new things in my life. D&D, my YouTube channel, which this is on, Blender, and my ambitious, probably overly ambitious at this point, goals. But this trip, the path that I had to take home to work, just the constant having to do it, and my mentality of just, you're doing this one thing, you're shut down for the rest of the day. So I would, like, when I'd get home, I didn't want to do anything creative. I just wanted to play games. But I didn't want to record games, so that's why there hasn't been, like, things on my channel, because I needed to do this. I needed to get all of this out and to finally be done with it. There's probably going to be little bells and whistles that I put on things. Like this voiceover, I thought I was going to, like, cut it up and things like that, but I realized, no, I just need to get it all out in one go. Well, 2 goes at this point, because I ran into the hiccup that was before, but that's fine. It was only half an hour. But yeah, like, I need to get this out. And this, like, every time I discovered a new possible route home, every time, I was so excited, because it was exploration. It was something new. I felt like I was doing something. But then when I went down those paths, like, 4 or 5 times, basically over the week, I started realizing it didn't matter that it was new. I still wasn't able to do the things I wanted to do. And when I got home, I was so tired, so upset, so drained that everything felt bad. I have friends still waiting on me to talk to them after months, maybe even a year. And I just couldn't do it. Can't do it. Like, what do I say? Like, hey, sorry, it's been a while. Here's the ton of shit that happened over the time frame. I'm sorry. So, 18, I would continue going and then turn off into Sunset Boulevard. This path, there's 3 options I can do here. The option that I'm showing you, the option that I turn right and then I take a left and then I turn into that and everything. So right here is 2 options, and I'm choosing the one that is technically the fastest. which is here. Down the right there, you can kind of turn around and go along this route, this road. But what you're gonna actually be doing is like down the back streets on the side, or if you go down to the logical end and then turn left there, it's a 2-lane road. Go one towards and one for down into where we're going to next. But I'm choosing this one just to show you, like, the first time I went down Issaquah, it was at, God, it was a Christmas or 3 ago. It was all decked out. It was all lit up. It was fantastic. But also sucked because this is a single road. Like, yeah, there's that turn lane and the lane coming back, but that's it. Every time there was a light, it was a backup. I didn't know that there's all these back routes you could take that are technically slower if the lights were in your favor. But yeah, like right at this light, you can turn right and feed into the other stuff. There was a turn you could do to bypass some of the stuff that I was talking about earlier. And then you got all these corner stores that, like, I would have loved to just park one day and just explore. But now, I don't ever want to come here again. I don't want to see this place. After I'm done with this, after I've settled and recorded this audio, I am going to make this video, post it on YouTube, publish it so it is for everybody to watch, and I'm never going back here again. That's the first time I've seen someone using parallel parking here, by the way. With the Sunset Drive, that white car on the left there, the one that was pulling to turn, that's where I'd be turning. Because there was like 4 or 5 routes I could take. That left turn into this road right there on the left, that was another one. The other way that I was talking about earlier, taking that right and going all the way around, that light up there is where I'd feed in. Like, all of these different routes feed into here, but there was one additional route that goes through a high school that's up there on the left. You can't see it because it's further up away, but up there on the left is a high school, and you could technically take a route that snakes almost along this path that way. And the thing is, I started finding out, because of school starting up and a lot of people just started to exist in this area, that was no longer a better path. Because this path, although technically longer, is stable. Yeah, I'm supposed to be going 25, but I was able to go 35 here. It was so fantastic. Like the, man. On the, look at that mountain. I'm so glad that the sun is where it is instead of like right in front of me. It was a blue sky, by the way. The correction is being weird. But yeah, you go along this path and like all these different apartments and everything like that. That light up there is where the high school route feeds into this one. And there wasn't anybody there this time, probably because it was midday. But around the time that I get here, which is often like, even though I left at 5 o'clock, I would be here at like 5:30. There was just such a line. Just such a line. But then we have this route. This route could be packed with cars. Like going 10, 15 miles an hour, 5 miles an hour. And I was fine. Like, it was slightly annoying, sure. But it was never aggravating. It was just kind of either boring or fantastically scenic. And that's because after that light, there's 2 more lights that will cross. I believe only 2 more lights, yeah. And then it's just all this area. Like, God, I would love to live out in something like this. But I can't. I can't afford it. Right now, I'm surprised there are people who can't afford it. But yeah, like, look at this. If it wasn't for the bright ass sun, which I apologize for that. Like, I couldn't do much about that. I'm sorry. But I'm not reshooting this. I can't. Like, the magic of what this is my last drive home from Keywords, from work. The work that I was at for over 15 years. It's the first time I've seen someone pulling in there, by the way. First time. On the right, past those trees, there's a guy with a helicopter. Just on the road, or on his lawn, just a helicopter. There's a paragliding school up here. On the left there. There's a poo-poo trail on the left right there. Poo-poo trail. That's the actual name of the trail, by the way. Fucking fantastic. But look at this. And the ride's not even over yet. Like, there's still more to go. Around this time, if I had left at the normal time frame, first and foremost, if I left at the normal time frame, the distance between my car and the other car in front of us would be a person. And we'd be going like 10 to 15. So, a part of me was so unbelievably happy that I was able to drive this route with near to no slowdowns to just enjoy the drive home. It was, there's a mansion on the right there. You see that wall that we just passed? There's a mansion on the other side of it. So funny. I've seen that wall come down like 3 times. On the left, I believe, is just a household. Like, I can't imagine trying to get out of that place onto the highway. It's one of the first lights that we run into. I ended up driving this rain, sun, sleet, snow. Except for one particular day, it got so bad that I couldn't leave. This was just... I listened to the fullity of not Critical Role, but another podcast of D&D stylings. I started listening to Dungeons and Daddies, but I never finished it. I don't think I ever will. I don't know. After the pandemic, or during the pandemic, when I had nothing to do, I couldn't do anything. I kind of wish that I had Blender at that time, in the respect of the drive to want to do it, because there was so much time. I had discovered it like right as I was getting back into work. I was pretty lost. I had some really good friends, and I'm so sorry that I can't. Not that I can't. I don't. Like, that's the worst part to me, is I don't hang out with them. I am fundamentally antisocial. I would rather talk while I play video games and throw it up onto YouTube for people to watch and enjoy at their leisure than hang out with my friends that I should be hanging out with, because they're my friends. I would rather be driving like on a road like this, walking a road like this, like exploring the world, making things on Blender, playing video games. But I should be a good friend, and I'm not. But I have some awesome friends who hang out with me. And even though I've got more free time to do things, and I keep putting stuff in my own way to do things with other people, when I should stop. Like, I don't need to be listening to YouTube all the time. I definitely don't need to be doing that. Like, occasionally when people make new content, cool, I should watch that. If I'm watching a show for the first time, why not invite my friends to watch with me? Like, a good portion of them could use the company. I know that, but I don't do it. Right there on the right was an infinity farm. I don't know what that means, but I know it had llamas. Here is where we start down one of the highways that's really been interesting to me. So around it, by the way, like a light ago, this is the traffic that you would expect even at like 6 o'clock at night. There's just so few people going this route that you can just kind of open up and let it go, and just go and go. There's fog. That there was one time I wanted my sister to come with me to work, just so that when I was coming home, I could have her holding the camera and record like all of the scenery on the right hand side. That never happened, and won't happen. There's too many memories typed with this route now. That's a Christmas tree farm, and just past that is our exit to the highway. I don't know what's beyond this. Like, if you go straight, I don't know what's that way. Never went, never wanted to. At this point, I just wanted to get home. I found it really weird that there was no cars here. Normally there's like a truck or a car like parked on the side there to rest. This time around there wasn't. Kind of felt really weird. Kind of like the apocalypse had happened, and like these are just kind of the last people trying to do their thing. And by apocalypse I mean like the subtle ones where everyone knows everything's dead. They just want to live their lives. So I move over to this left lane, not because it's the faster lane, but because the right has always been on this side. Really messed up. And on this particular highway, W18, I like to just hit the cruise control and be on the right side. If I'm on the left side, I want to go faster because that allows for things to go smoothly. And that's it. It's a passing lane, but at the same time, it's the only other lane, so fuck it. And even though this is a highway, on either side, it's trees. And it has only been packed when a section of the road gets flooded because of poor drainage or an accident. Like, even now, there's a part of my brain that that is just dumping pieces of information that I know I'll no longer need. Like the special route from Microsoft Home, which was a bit different than this one. It still led to Issaquah, but how you got there was this kind of back route. I remember when my glasses fell apart, and I needed to repair them. Stopped off at a place for an epoxy. It was an auto zone, so it was like the epoxy was not safe for eyewear. So I didn't want to use that. There was a sound credit because it's coming all the way out here. God, I remember all the people that back in Keywords, back when it was VMC, we would have fights between departments because it wasn't just the hardware team and that was it. There was the hardware team, the riot team, the functional team, but the functional team shot itself in the foot because the director only wanted to see female people in it, and oh man, that ended up biting them in the butt because most of the people who were good, who wanted to work there, were not girls. And the ones who did work there only saw it as a means to an end, which perfectly fine for them. But the moment things started going terrible, which they did, those people left. So the department fell apart. And then Microsoft started pulling funds at that point, and the functional team fell apart. There was a rival company, HCL. I think they might even still be around. They're just not with Microsoft directly anymore. I don't know. I'm not going to go to them. Actually, I might go to them. I don't know. Well, I'll see later. I might not, just so that I don't have to worry about the memories of it. All these old washed up memories of events that nobody gave a shit about. Just gone. It's going away. I don't know. I don't know what. I'm good. It hurts. But I know I need to do this. I need to remember that this was just a job. Though I met some really awesome people, I may not re-meet with a good chunk of them because Discord wasn't a thing at the time that some of the really cool people left keywords. I'm in touch with 4 of them still. Even online, my friend pool is very small, but I cherish every one of them. My sister has done so much to help me just keep this job. And now, just because Microsoft is making poor decisions, still, lots of people are suffering for it. And no matter how much I try to wiggle around that concept, I can't deal with it. But I don't have to, and that's the important part of all this. There are other businesses, there are other places I can go. I need to start really practicing my craft in Blender. I don't know if I'll ever be able to turn it into money, but if I sit here and continue to worry about whether or not I can or can't, I never will. I had, like, mentally all these things that I was going to talk about on this portion, but the reality is, the more I delve into that portion of my brain, the more it hurts. At this point, like, even driving wise, I'm done. I want to get home. I want to be done with this whole portion of my life. I enjoy the friends that I've gotten, and I try to keep in touch with them best I can. But I need to let this all go and just get done with that portion of my life. I'm still going to be looking into moving because there's so many memories of this area, like where I'm currently living, that it makes it painful to just even though my new job is like 10 minutes away instead of hours away, driving past areas is so, like, it runs me through so many emotions that oftentimes some of those emotions are just extremely painful to go down. so many things I wanted to do during the my trips home. Like I wanted to watch cartoons, like enjoy stories and things like that. I love getting lost in stories, but I hate reading because my ADHD just won't let me just read. And now, like, now I can show anybody who's had to, like, listen to me ramble about, oh, I worked in one place and da da da. I can show them where, like, just how long of a trip this was. How long it was, and how I had driven it for years. Even, like, the bus rides were collectively worse and better in odd ways. Worse because they were just longer. They were straight up just longer. I had to carry everything in a backpack. I didn't have a car to to carry them with me. So everything that I had to eat, everything that I had to drink, everything that I had to occupy myself during the breaks and lunches, like, it felt like high school all over again with little cliques and things like that. But the benefits was I got to sleep on the bus. I got to do things on the bus during those transition points, and I got pretty good at, like, waking up at the right times. I do miss that portion of my life, but I shouldn't. It was terrible. I shouldn't miss that aspect of my life because it was bad. It was terrible for me. It was horrible. And I should acknowledge that. But I'm passive in a lot of ways that I shouldn't be. I'm acceptant of a lot of things that I shouldn't be. But also, I get irate over things that I shouldn't. I'm just a person. And there's no right way to think about anything. And I'm a firm believer of that one truth. There are always other stories to be told about any event. Anyway, we're starting to come up on the end of the trip. When me and my sister started to use HelloFresh, not sponsored, for our meals, every other week, she would have to make a trip up to Target. And Target in Federal Way, I mean, and the Safeway that was there. So I had to start using my GPS to basically make a turn off at either some point here or later up to pick her up. Because, well, quite literally, because there was no other choice. She, like, if she were to go home at that time because of the way that the buses have been kneecapped in Washington, she would get home an hour after I would get home, almost consistently. Okay, so we're starting to pull up to the portion of my trip where I start another cavalcade of options to get home, and I've explored all of them. Almost all. No, yeah, I have explored all of them. Some, like if I were to take, if I took a right up here, I believe. Is it? Yeah. Yeah, if I take a right up here, I could get to a portion that I thought would put me into a good spot for getting home. But it turns out the traffic is worse on that one getting home than what I was going. So that was the last time I tried that one. By the way, this is actually the curve that gets flooded if it rains too much the day before, because the drainage is terrible there. I don't get it. Okay, here we go. This is the uphill drive that I started having to get really used to because there was no way around it. Unless I wanted to go through I-5, which I didn't. Like, I-5 started to become even worse than 405 around where I needed to turn off. And here, the far right lane is supposed to... That truck is actually supposed to be slowing down and putting his hazards on. I don't care that he isn't. That sound was. I really don't, actually. I don't remember. So at this point, I have three options to go. I could go on the far left lane and keep going straight, which will put me into a left turn that feeds into Fife, or the way I'm going currently, there is there's two options here as well. The remaining two options, I mean, you can go straight and then go into I-5 from here, which I hated doing. Where they're going right now is just off different. I rarely ever use that, and when I did, it was to go pick up my sister at the Safeway at Fife, or Federal Way. But this direction, if you stay in the right lane, which I am, you could start going into Enchanted Park. And this was the second portion of my trip that was always like really cathartic and relaxing and rarely had me truly upset. I'm doing this, by the way. I rarely do it like this, but the way that truck was slowing down, I want to get home. And I was going the speed I need to be going on this area. So, yeah. Now, a lot of people do what this pickup is doing here, but that's probably because they didn't know that this area right here is, yeah, you either go left or you go right. You can't do both. Now, going left is an option to I-5, but I hated going down that path. So I started going down this path. And this path has three options again. I could take a right, hook around, and then get onto the road that I would have gotten onto if I had stayed on the other one. I know that doesn't make much sense, but it doesn't matter. I can take a left, which I'm doing, in this lane, or in the left lane. If I take a left in the left lane, I can go straight and then I would turn right onto a road that goes into residential area in Milton. But here is the fastest route. Mind you, going through Milton only adds 4 minutes to my trip, but which, when you've already spent an hour and I think about 50 minutes of your trip so far, it doesn't feel so bad. But when you're here, right feels like it should be a good way, but the lights are never in your favor when you go that way. So I just started going down this route. There we are. The light is normally longer than that, but I didn't do any editing magic. I just got lucky. Up here, you could either go straight, or what I am going to do, turn right. Right down Enchanted Park Wild Waves Road. Over there is I-5. Is it I-5? I think it's I-5. I don't really care. Here, I've gotten very used to this road. Very used to this road. I enjoyed driving down this road, and if it was just this road to get to home, I'd be so okay with it. But it's not. It really is not. Up here is, oh yeah, that was the turn that it suggested you go 20. I normally take it to like 25, 30. Unless there is other cars on the other side, then I'd slow down to 20, 15. Or if there's anything on the road, like rain's low, if it's super cold, no, I don't chance it. On the left, I don't know what's down there. Down this road, there is a point that has been flooded continuously when it rained heavily. So I no longer care, but I started pathing ways to get around it if it happened, because it would always eat up so much time to rectify it. But now I don't care. It's just, I don't have to go this route anymore. Here, I'm going to take a little bit to the left into the left lane because of how bumpy the road is. And now, we're not done yet. I don't live here. All this residential, nope, don't live there. Yeah, we're not done yet. I'm not home yet. I'm about 10 minutes away. 10 to 20. Depending on traffic. Now here, I could take a right turn and then get on that road that I could have gotten to with the right turn back there. Or what I am going to do, which is go straight, aka take a left turn. Stop. Ba-ba-ba. There's a car on the right. There we go. Now, if I had taken the left straight, I would be feeding. I would be feeding into where I'm going to be going next. This is Milton, by the way. It is not normal for people to be turning left there. I want to say that. Now, normally, the faster route is actually taking a right up here. But I think I wanted, at least once, to show that the left route is actually really enjoyable too. Up here, yeah. I hate stopping on this type of hill, but look at the houses here. It's so nice. Taking a right here. Just past this light, on the right, in that corner of the street, on the other side of the road, has been consistently a well-decorated house that I always love driving by. Yeah, right there on the right. Like, when it was the holidays and everything like that. On the right up here is a dancing one. If I went the other route, all it would be is, like, an apartment building on the right, and that's it. And if I had taken the left all the way back there and just went straight, I would feed in straight into this road that I'm currently driving on. And I normally like driving on this road because up there is a stoplight that you have to stop at. It's got these weird LEDs on it too. That you gotta wait for the cars to feed in here. Now, from here, there are the two options available to me. I found out that one of them adds 4 more minutes to my trip. And that's to take a left up at the light here. Take a left and then go down a ways and then turn right to bypass the light that had been giving me a lot of grief. But it feels like they had fixed the light here. By the way, we're in Fife now. We're out of Milton. We're in Fife now. There's a light coming up. Not this light, but there's a light further down that gave me a lot of headache. But I would take a left here to bypass that light. But it would be down like a few business blocks and everything. I've never gone into that mart over there on the left. I don't think I ever will. I might, actually. Like, it's close enough to me. I don't care. I don't have memories of that, so that might be fine. But yeah, like, just sitting here. I had the cry that I needed to. Realized that I needed to change things in my life. I was just too complacent with what I had. That might be something I want to do. Now that I'm thinking about it, maybe I should change where my screens are. That's something to think about. Yeah, I'll think a lot heavier on that in a moment. Here. So, up this way, there's a couple of interesting houses on the left. They're all dilapidated, unfortunately. But we're coming up on the light that I hate. There's a library right there. Never went in. I doubt I ever will. Yeah, there's the dilapidated houses on the left there. So here, I could take a left and end up in the road that I would have been in the other one, but that kind of sucked. I found that I could also go up into the school here and drive through their main parking area to take a right turn and get past the light that I had problems with. However, they started randomly closing off that area, so it became punishing to try to do that. Then up here, take a left, could go past that building on the left, the mirrored building that the truck just went by. Could take a left there and then feed into the same area. However, this light here, which is a very strange light, has started to become more useful. And I still end up using this when I'm coming home from Fife area. But basically, if you can't see it, even though that white truck on my right is in that lane, he is not allowed to go straight. Even though I'm in the lane that looks like it should only be taking a left, I can go straight or left. And there's a Dairy Queen, like, right there on the left there. And there's the left-hand signal. I've had more than a few people, like, get into that lane, not realize that it is only a right turn lane there on the right, and get a lot of people upset at them. But I don't have to deal with that anymore. I don't have to deal with that, and that is a very happy thing in my life. But we're still not done. We are still not done, but we are getting close. This is the final stretch. Ish. So here's the part of the road that, although it's fully business and whatnot, I've rarely had times where I would go down this and get stuck. Partly why I went down this one and not the main Fife roads is because those, I started getting so many idiots who just would speed in front of you, then slow down, then like deliberately block you for some weird reason. Or the individuals who just decide that they're going 15 miles an hour in the spot that they should be going 30. It's just so many irritations that it's like, nope, I'm on this road. It's got a set thing, and because it's not the main road, people aren't slowing down to figure out where the next turnoff is. They're just going. That said, on the left coming up is Costco. Never been. There on the left there, where that car's turning left. That's Costco. I've never been there. I might look for work there. I'm not sure. Yeah, this is the final portion of this section. Very rarely do I have anybody like with me for the whole length of this as far as cars in front of me. Where that truck is pulling up right is actually a yield, not a stop sign. The stop sign is for those who are staying on the road. And here, I used to take a left, go on I-5, and then like deal with that noise. But then I recently, like within the last month or so, realized that if I do this, where I basically cut past all the people turning left, which often at that late it's not this many people, go straight and then turn left here. It allows me to get in front of all of the noise traffic that happens on the right that are trying to do the same thing. I forget where I ended this video, but I think it's going to be on the bridge. So we'll get to see this phone had good audio recording, I'll tell you that much. Holy crap. But yeah, take a left here. Jack and Box on the right. Then you drive down this way. Extended stay Holiday Inns are on the left. Some motels on the right. This is just the final area, the final stretch. I hope you enjoyed the ride. Sorry for the existential dread I gave myself. This was my last drive to and from work. I hope whatever you're doing in your life, you understand that people do really stupid things because they feel it's the only thing they can do. And sometimes it really is the only thing they can do. So, until next time, whatever it may be, aloha.